Watching water boil.
There we go. Good evening, everybody. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we seal the minutes to the non-public session until such time as majority of the board believes it is wise and prudent to unseal them, with the exception of some HR matters, which I will announce shortly.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to announce that this evening the board removed Joshua Stevens from probation and promoted him to grade 13, step 9 as a part-time police officer. And this evening the board voted to remove Ryan Geary from probation and to promote him to grade 20, step 8 as a full-time police officer.
Okay. All right, let's move on to new business. Microphone's awful loud. Okay, we'll go to A, Fire Department, Rescue Station, project update.
Good evening, Mike Pavero, Eastern Seaboard Construction Manager, and they are a little loud. Update going along as scheduled. Fortunately, the weather is now cooperating with us finally, so we can get back out and continue with the site work. I think I mentioned to you in the last meeting that we do have power finally in the building. Or maybe I just said that we had,
You said it was coming.
Right.
The easement was done, but we do have the power. The power is finally in the building, and the electrical part of it is on the majority of it is complete at this point. So we're finishing the office area, which is very close. Bob, you were in there today.
Yeah, looks great.
Yeah, you can see it's just about done inside there. We'll finish the apparatus bay, and fingers crossed, I'm still waiting for some clarifications and approvals from the state. I would like to think we're done there in 5 or 6 weeks with no, unforeseen problems, but.
Okay. Anybody else, anybody have any questions?
And we're still on target and on budget?
On target, on budget, yeah.
Thank you.
Still under budget, actually. There's one thing, and I'll just bring it up briefly, we touched upon it at the last meeting, is the generator. That's still completely, Larry, I don't know if you can shed any light on that or not, that's still completely a black hole, let's say it, put it that way.
We submitted our Seabrook budget, but we don't hear from them until June, so I put in for 30,000. If that doesn't take fold, then we can do the EMPG grant. So we discussed it, and when they put in all the electrical work to hook it up. I think we can live without it for 3 more months, maybe 4, until we hit both grants, because that's how long it's gonna take. And then if we have to buy one, we'll have to buy one.
And that's a decision the board should kind of sit down and make within the next month. If you're comfortable with opening up the station. I mean, the station will be completely operational without the generator, but if something was to happen, you would be without power up there.
Okay, if I remember correctly, the generator at the old fire station's too small for the new fire station?
Well, it's a series of things. One, yeah, Seabrook was supposed to move it up there, but at this point, that was a moot point because it's only a 100 amp generator, and the new fire station needs like a 300 amp generator. So yeah, it was just completely inadequate for the new station. Okay. Unfortunately, way back when the station was talked about, the engineers and architects and everybody did their budgetary numbers, and I think, Larry, you remember, it was gonna be picked up by Seabrook. So those guys never really gave a lot of thought to the generator aspect of it, assuming and told that it really had no impact on the construction project, because Seabrook was gonna take care of that aspect of the work, so they, no fault of theirs, they just never gave it any thought when they were looking at the design, because it wasn't gonna impact the cost. Unfortunately, here we are, and it could potentially impact the cost depending on what we do and don't get for relief from Seabrook or grants.
Okay.
So I take it, I take it we could have a pad poured and we could have a place to plug in the generator and we could open and then we could
Yeah,
just-
we've run the conduit out there
Yeah.
and stubbed it out. I'm still a little hesitant on pouring the pad unless I oversize the pad,
Yeah.
because, I need some dimensional information on what that generator would be, but we have talked about it, and I've talked about it with the electricians and the generator company, and so we're putting stuff in place to make that happen, but we're gonna hold off a little longer until we get,
But I
Well-
mean, if we drew a line in the sand here, whatever our next meeting is, actually, it'd have to be later than that, because Larry, you're saying June is when Seabrook's
Say
gonna?
June for the first grant, and then if I have to reapply in June, it'd be July, August. But if worst comes to worst, we can always rent one if we had a major catastrophe, right, and plug it in.
I'd say, yeah, I can't, we put the provisions in.
Right.
We've got about, don't hold me to this number, but for the switch, the conduit and the labor and stuff, just to put that piece of equipment in to receive the generator was about $7,000. Just for that aspect, and we still gotta attach something to the other end of it, so I guess we could rent one if push came to shove.
I would just wing it and just wait.
I mean, I don't have a problem with that as long as, and it sounds like the answer is, there's no issues just moving forward without it. It's not like, it's not like we're gonna have to rewire something. It's
No.
gonna be, conduit's gonna be there and the pad can be poured whenever.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, there'll be no issues, because the way the routing of the power came into the building, knowing we were gonna run into this problem, it's not like we got a disconnect power feed coming in to do this work. It's already done, it's on its own switch,
Right.
so it won't interrupt anything that's going on at this point.
Okay. Anybody else? That was quick and painless.
I like quick and painless.
Okay,
Is that it? Anybody, nobody else, no other questions? No?
that's it.
When can I go take another look at it? It's been a,
Well, if you fill out the proper paperwork and we have the proper authorization, you can probably look at it anytime you want.
10-day waiting period?
Yeah, and get it approved, yep. No, just let us know you're coming up, but yeah, the selectmen know they can come up and take a peek at it. Bob was up there today.
Yeah. Just make sure you check in with the office. Don't just walk in because you don't know what kind of construction's going on at the time.
Yeah, what we have live and not live or stuff like that,
Right.
just for safety reasons, yeah.
oh, of course.
Okay, anybody else?
I'm good.
Looks like you're out of here quick tonight.
Oh, man, thank you. There is nothing else, right? I don't have something else.
Can you ask the road agent to come to the podium?
Yeah, let me get them.
Okay. Not to put you on the spot, but do you want to talk a little about the approach, the kind of the post-winter storm approach to the roads that you usually take every year? Do you want to just,
Well, yeah, this year's, the approach will be no different than any other spring. This winter, and there's no crystal ball, was a little harder on some of the deteriorating roads than some of the past winters. So we've got a lot of breakouts, a lot of potholes, which Ronnie and Mark have been diligently working on repairing. I know people on certain roads haven't seen them because they're working on other roads. So they will eventually get to the breakouts and potholes and fill them in and make the travel surface better, but it's gonna be a while. They've got their work cut out for them, and we had a culvert failure on Thornell this past weekend, and they've been working on that the past 2 days. Hopefully they'll finish it up tomorrow, and then back to breakouts and potholes and that type of repair, and then from there, which I'm getting a fair amount of calls, and I've hired an independent company to go grab some of the broken branches, the widowmakers. But there's a lot of them too, so it's gonna take some time, so people have to be patient.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we still have a lot of New Hampshire DOT-owned roads in town. And I mean, you probably, you communicate with them to let them know if residents are complaining about something wrong with those roads, but you have to wait for them.
I do, yeah. I mean, unless it was an emergency, and we still communicate, you know, the DOT, the local shed garage will call me if they can't man it, and it was something that was sinking or was really drastic. We would try to go in and temporarily repair it, but yeah, that's on the state. Any of the state roads is their state repairs, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, it was a rough winter for that stuff,
Yeah.
the roads, I think more so than the last couple of years, but it is what it is, and you have to
yeah. I
take
mean,
the same approach you always take. so.
Yeah,
People just have to be patient, because there's only 2 people on the road crew, and there's a lot of potholes in town.
yeah. It's not a big highway crew. It's like you just said, Bob, there's only 2 guys. so.
Right. Okay,
That's all I wanted.
anybody else?
No.
Run while you can, Mike.
I'm going, I'm off. I'm gonna say thank you, good night.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
See ya.
Okay, I skipped over the selectmen's minutes, Mike.
So I would like to make a motion to approve the Selectmen's non-public and public minutes dated April 17th, 2018.
Second.
Discussion?
Second?
Already got that.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll jump right to B, Fire Department lease agreement. I think we have the paperwork around here somewhere.
I haven't seen it.
It's just, we've already approved it all, we just need to get the approval to have it be signed.
It's in that yellow one.
Yeah, he's got it right here.
Yeah.
Can I put it up?
2 sets.
Oh, he's gotta sign it all.
We're supposed to make 2 sets.
Yeah, but he has to sign, oh,
This is the one that we discussed last fall, right?
that's
Right,
correct.
that's the fire department truck.
Isn't that the,
Pickup,
is it the truck or is it the Chevy?
Pickup.
The pickup
Pickup
truck,
truck.
yeah.
Right.
right for the forestry.
That's why I'm looking at going, it's going to the chief, not, so it wouldn't be the forestry, it would be the,
It's a pickup plow truck,
Pickup plow could also be used as a forestry if
if they
you're gonna
had,
get the insert,
if the other one died.
right.
okay, so this is the one that we, actually, I believe it was in January we discussed it.
Right.
Okay. In which case, I will move that we sign the lease agreement for the fire department pickup truck.
Second.
Discussion?
And to allow the chair to sign all the
I was
pages.
just going to say, and authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the board, because these all,
Well, he did say to sign the agreement, so.
Yeah, but
right.
only the chair is signing. Only one spot for the chair.
I have
Okay.
no problem with having the chair alone sign them.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we'll move to transfer station review release of liability form.
So I was asked to we were asked to contact Primex and get a release form. They sent us a template, and I went in and tweaked it to the best, to adjust it for what we wanted. Excuse me, and Matt reviewed it, and he said it looked good, and we sent it back to Primex. We got a call from them today, and they said, yeah, it's okay, but doesn't cover everything. If someone's arm gets amputated, what if someone's putting wood in the pile and they get hurt? So it's kind of basically like, no matter what you do, you can't cover yourself totally.
Can Tom, I would move that we abandon this endeavor in total, because it's not worth it.
I agree.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Discussion?
I just want to say that it was a nice thought, but People can't take wood from the pile.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you, Diane.
Actually, people
thank you for all your work, Diane. What's that?
Well, we're talking wood pile. There would only be wood in the pile.
Well, no, there's a pile of wood that it's wood fencing. wood
No,
pad.
this was logs that people would be able to take home
Right.
for the,
We were discussing the
Winter
wood
heating.
pile.
Right,
and
but if these are areas of liability for the town regarding a piece of wood, it's also the same liability for the town regarding a pallet or anything out of the burn pile.
well, they're not supposed to be taking anything out of there anyways, as far as I know, right, Jack? I'm sorry? Nobody's supposed to be taking any pallets or wood out of the transfer station after it's been dumped anyways.
They do right now.
They do?
Because we have, there's two piles of wood down there, the brush and so forth, and clean wood, like clean pallets go in another pile. People are taking them all the time, using at home to probably stack wood, or some people burn with them. But there's never been an issue. But I think that when we talked about that, I'm not sure if it was the last selectmen's meeting, if somebody comes in and wants mulch, they sign a waiver right now. Okay, so if they want their trailer or back in their pickup truck, and we fill it up with a Kubota, but they do sign a waiver. And I thought maybe that's where the selectman was going, that if people wanted to get down there, because there are people that come in all the time and ask to go down and take wood. Because there's a lot of clean stuff, they might burn it for, there's 2x4s that are nice and clean, whatever, they might use it for a backyard fire or whatever, but,
So we looked at the waiver
Yeah.
that you currently have,
Yeah.
and basically all the waiver covers is if you were to damage
Oh, okay.
their vehicle while you help them.
I've never really read it. I just,
Exactly, that's why we asked for it, because
Okay.
none of us, I don't think, really read it, so that's why we started this thing. So I mean, it's still, if you guys are gonna use that there for that very purpose, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like if somebody says, can you help me get this out of my truck, definitely still, do that. But as far as, I kinda said it last week, and half jokingly, your vehicle should be empty as you leave the transfer station. You shouldn't be leaving the transfer station with
More than you came in with?
more than you
we got the
came
free,
in with.
we have the free pile there, it's amazing what people take,
And if that's what we stick with, and I mean, the take it or leave it swap thing's a little different because it's away from,
Yeah.
But if that's what we keep with, then we don't have to have additional waivers and releases and all that stuff, is what our insurance company is telling us, essentially. So if we continue to allow people to go down there, and I realize they have to go down there because they're dumping off their brush or whatever, if they start, looking for stuff to load up to take out of there, this is when we're gonna get in trouble.
Okay, so am I under the impression that you just voted to, you're gonna stop all,
Yeah,
All the wood?
we should have some sort of official
okay.
letter we'll send to Pete, I think, just so you guys are clear,
Okay,
But before we leave this, I had asked Nancy, I know she was leaving on PTO at the time, that we should get the official word from Primex and basically say, what are we covered for? Like, what is the level of our insurance coverage over there, And they'll probably won't give you a straight answer because they typically don't.
Well,
But
I reached out to them and I got an answer that was totally off base. So,
sounds familiar.
let us know what happens, we'll let you know if we cover you, basically.
Exactly.
yeah.
So, but I mean, I look at it this way, like if you go into a retail store, there's a sales floor, and they probably have an insurance policy to cover them if anything happens to a customer on the sales floor. If the customer somehow ends up in the back room of the retail store and gets hurt, that's a little different, right? Because that's not why they should be there. So
So-
I don't know what our,
Well, what they explained today, because I used the example, what happens if a resident fell into the compactor?
yeah,
And basically, they said, well, they would take it as a case-by-case basis, and they would say, was the resident on their phone and they fell in, so it's neglect on their part? Was it that we had something bad, it was on our part? They would look at each case individually and then determine whether or not to settle, basically.
right.
They would assign an attorney to
Yeah.
get the facts.
My thing with the wood is, we're not, so we're taking people's wood, right? We're not inspecting every piece of wood to make sure it's safe.
Right.
And then we're giving it to somebody to take away. So we're assuming liability because it's ours now. Now we're giving it back to them, and we're essentially, there could be nails in the wood that they, get
Termites are in my house now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, termites.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I'm,
I have one more question that has nothing to do with, how about the steps, Nancy? Do you know if the building inspectors had time to come up with a form to check off?
That's coming up.
It's
Oh, no,
on the, is it something that's coming up?
I thought I saw that.
Tonight.
We didn't get it.
We have no update at this point.
That's right, we're
Pardon?
still waiting for
Updated.
Bill,
I
right?
talked to him on Thursday night, and he said he was working on it, and we should have it shortly, but I wasn't here yesterday, and I'm not seeing any emails, so.
Now, is opening the back door of the dumpster working, or?
I haven't been there, so.
Okay. All right, let's keep moving along. We'll go to the D, pilot program, commercial trash hauling.
it's a big transfer station night.
Yep.
I sent in the SOP, and it took me a lot less time to write up how to deliver trash from one place to another. So I didn't know if there was anything specific the selectmen wanted me to elaborate on, or if there were any questions. I sent it over, a week or a couple days ago.
Yesterday.
I sent it over yesterday, but it was only a paragraph long, so.
My only concern reading it is that you wanted to change the days.
I did ask a couple of questions
Tuesday,
because,
Thursday to Saturday, so the way I see it is it wouldn't be fair to, when we put it out there for people to apply, and if Saturday was their only day, and we said no Saturdays, they didn't apply. So now if we add Saturday after the deadline and we're still in a probation period, it could cause some trouble with other residents who wanted to do it on Saturday.
And Tuesdays and Thursdays only was based on recommendation from the transfer station manager, based on volume of trash and when the compactors can be hauled away.
yeah, the reason I ask is because it had previously been in the policy before I read the one that's now online.
Right, and that's, was
And
prior
that's-
to feedback
yeah,
from
and
the transfer station manager.
And I understand that, I'm only asking because it presents, it does present a personal problem for me, or a potential personal problem for me, but also that problem may also get in the way of other potential permit holders in the future.
But recycling can be done at any time, so you can do the recycling on
yeah.
Saturdays or Sundays or whenever.
Yeah.
And the recycling does not need to be trailered in.
Right.
Well, the idea, and that was the second question, the idea is that I don't necessarily want to drive around town twice, and if I could pick
So
up
you
both
could have the household waste in the bed of your truck and the recycling in a trailer, absolutely.
Okay.
Now, when we agreed to this, we said no trailers, pickup trucks
For
only.
the household waste.
No, we didn't specify for household waste. We said pickup trucks with sides up to the top of your roof only. I mean, to me, if somebody wanted to entertain a motion to just dissolve this, I mean, first we start off with the days, now we want Saturdays. Now we want trailers. None of that was ever agreed to. We said pickup trucks. We never once said trailers were allowed. Because now what's gonna stop somebody with a car with a 4x8 trailer with 4-foot high sides, same as a pickup truck? Now why can't they do that for household trash?
No, we're saying he can use the trailer to bring in the recycling,
So
not household waste.
What's the difference?
I will just say this much. This is a pilot, so there are things that we might change on the fly if they make sense for the town as we go through the pilot. Personally, I was in favor of the Tuesday and Thursday deal because it was less of an impact during the pilot, right? If if Jack and all the guys down there came back and said, oh, you know what, we're hardly noticing anything. Matt, you're absolutely right, the volume's the same. Then at that point, once I have data, I might entertain going to Saturday and Sunday. But I think for the pilot, I want to stick with what we started with additionally. And I would say the same thing with the trailer, is when we kind of, quote unquote, signed up, when we had the initial requirements of the pilot, there was nothing about trailers. I think we should kind of stick for now with what the pilot is, but I think we should be open-minded that later on, we might find a good reason to change things. But I do agree with Bob that all the stuff we kind of signed up for, we can't really change it now.
Well, we also said it was a work in progress, the document, because we based it on what we knew
At the time.
at the time.
And I do agree it's a work in progress, but kind of like before we even, we've kind of just started, I don't want to change it now. If Steve, for example, were to come back to us and give us hard facts or whatever that seem to make the case to change something, and again, as we do everything, best interests of the town, right? We're not going to change, in no offense, but we're not going to change something in your best interest. We're going to change it in the best interests of the town. We just have to know that from hard facts when we start this.
Yeah,
And to
well,
think about it, as you first start off anyways, you'll be lucky to do 4 loads on Tuesday and Thursday when you first start off. So there's nothing that prevents you from bringing the partial load and the recycling both in the bed of the truck. Drop off the recycling and then the household waste as well.
Right, now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I already know there's a group of people that are gonna do a warrant article this year to cancel this anyways, so I don't know how much you wanna get involved. It could be canceled at the end of the year, it could be a great hit, and it could continue, but I know that I've been informed there's gonna be a warrant article to cancel this program.
Which, if
Could
it
not-
does
could-
happen,
could and
it
could
may
not
or may
pass.
not pass.
Right, that's what I'm saying, it could, they might like it and blossom, or they might say, no, we don't want it, and they're gonna cancel it. So I'm just letting you know what I know, because I don't want you to go in thinking it's gonna be great, and then March, they say, nope, stop doing it. So,
The people are the one who said they wanted to do it.
and the people also said they felt that they were misled. They thought it was to give us permission to look into it, not to start it. So, I'm just letting you know what I've been told. There is a group of people that are against it, and they want to put a warrant article in this year to discontinue it.
I'm sorry, what was the pretense for it? They just feel like they
They-
were misled?
They felt that they were misled when we did the meeting, if I remember correctly. They were told this was not to give us permission to do it, this was to give us permission to look into the feasibility of it.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it passes and we're implementing it, and they felt like they were told that they would be voting on it again after we did the paperwork and the homework.
Well,
Now they're feeling
yeah.
that they were misled because they voted to look into it, and next thing you know, we're doing it.
Unfortunately, the wording of the warrant article itself said to analyze and implement.
Right, but at the
actual
meeting, it
verbiage.
was told, we said something differently, that's why they.
I mean, I would just like to say, when I hear they and somebody said, I never like to talk about they and somebody and all that, because they're not here.
It's usually nobody.
But, or it could be. I'm sure it's somebody, but my thing is, I realize we were somewhat divided when we voted in favor of this. But we voted, and I believe it was 4-1, to at least start the pilot and see. So I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but I would at least like to see what happens. But I'm kinda hard, I have a hard stance on sticking with what was proposed
Absolutely.
when we voted with that, and to see where that takes us. Bob's making a legitimate point, but I think you know that anyway, that this could go away based on our vote, right? We told you it's a pilot, we could, and a few months into the pilot, we could say, this isn't working, we're canceling it. And, it's well within the rights of citizens to put a warrant article too. He makes a lot of sense, because you don't want to get a $100,000 loan to go support something like this when you don't know, but you probably wouldn't do that anyway.
I haven't.
But
yeah.
I would just,
And then the other thing is, in 3 months, you may decide that it's a
Too
no-go
much of a
for
headache.
you, and,
Yeah.
you know, you fold and say, sorry, you know, I'm not gonna do it anymore. It can work either way.
Okay,
That's why it's a pilot.
all right.
but I just, to the board, I would just say, let's start with what we planned on and see what happens during the time frame we've ironed out, and then we can have another vote at that time and see if we,
I would like to say one other thing, is that I never misled anybody. When that Warren article was on the ballot, I was told exactly what Bob said, is that it was to see if the selectmen could continue to discuss it, and that's how I campaigned for,
Yep,
in
but
support of that article.
it was at the
And it was,
deliberative
and you're right that
session.
it was written differently than it was perceived, and then it was actualized when the selectmen decided that they didn't need a further step to install the program. But at the time when I campaigned, I did that with the full intention of supporting what the selectmen told me was the purpose of the article.
Right, and you thought the purpose was to look into it only, not to implement it.
Right.
That's what
yes.
everybody else in town thought too. That's why you have some people that aren't very happy.
Actually, I would say that I would say instead of making a warrant article in the future to turn it down, that instead they petition to allow the selectmen to fully implement it, which was the original plan. I guess I would just say, why is a future warrant article against it instead of continuing with the original plan?
we'd have to have the person writing the warrant article here to answer that question. I mean, it is what it is, you know, it's like, I read the original warrant article, I read it differently. You said everybody in town read it, not me. I saw it as us researching it, discussing it further, then deciding what to do, which I think is what we did, so.
Right, but we even have the person that wants to do the job also thought, like the other townspeople, that it wasn't going to be implemented this year. That even he thought that we were just getting permission to look into it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, but I go back to what I said, we voted, and let's
Right.
lock and load and go and see what happens, and then we can,
Right, it was
There'll
a
be
vote, so it is what it is right now.
right,
so.
there'll be another opportunity to kill it if people want to do that, you know?
I hope not. All right, thank you.
Okay.
I'd just like to make a couple of comments. I think that...
Jack, do me a favor, just pull that mic down.
Yeah, it's the short people, yeah. I agree with Bob, because I've heard the same thing, many people at the transfer station. But I look at this permit fee of $500 payable. I don't think anybody in town, at least that I've talked to, realize that, in all fairness to Steve, that there'd be a fee for this. That they're in the impression that we're gonna have trash pickup, but there was never a mention in the warrant article, and I've never heard any of the meetings that said there's gonna be a fee to pick up, which is no problem, but I don't think people were aware that someone from the outside is gonna make a few dollars on picking up trash in the town. And I think that's where, you know, one of the mistakes that I see, that it was never presented, it all in good. And maybe that's because of what Bob was saying, was never really finalized and not talked about in a sense going forward. But I can't tell you how many people came into the transfer station. I know I'm repeating myself to say, hey, you guys are all done, we're gonna have trash pickup. And I said, yeah, if you pay. What do you mean pay? We're already paying taxes. And that's what the people talked to me about. But anyway, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, let's move on. We'll go to E, forest fire, bill for completed training.
So you just need to have, sign a bill that, was it Zelinski that went to the,
Yes.
yeah, Robert to some forest training? one that's kind of folded up.
This for the fire wardens, or,
Yeah.
and it's in their budget, right?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we sign, actually, I move that we have the chair sign the,
Everybody signs. Should
well,
be,
there's only really one line here.
should be
but-
5 lines there.
See, they drew the lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And somebody's going to sign in the middle of payment of group.
They'll have to.
Okay. Anyway, for the forest fire report bill for the, Mr. Zelinski's training has been duly signed off by the fire warden in the town of Newton.
Second,
Discussion?
you see it?
Just so the board knows, we get half of that amount back, which isn't very much, but they do pay half.
Right. I was just asking, this is in their budget, right?
It's in the forest fire warden's budget,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else want to see it?
We need
Anybody else? Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I don't mean to belabor something, but I want to go back and I just want to read this so it can be in the minutes, because I think it kind of answers two things that came up. I'm going to read, and Diane, you can get this right off of last year's
What
warrant.
are we talking about?
This is back to the trash haulers.
Oh,
So this
okay.
is warrant article number 13 from 2017. Says, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to study, possibly develop, and implement policies which would allow and regulate private trash haulers wishing to offer, for a fee, Newton residents curbside pickup and unloading it at the Newton transfer station. So I just want to put that in the minutes because I think it answers Jack's question, and Steve had a question, but we don't need to discuss it any further.
Okay. All right, let's go to F, Right to Know Law Workshop.
So, I think it was Matt that asked about the right to know workshop. There are a couple of options that you have. There is one being held in Rochester, New Hampshire, and it's in June 8th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and it's $90 per person. Another option we could have is we could have a right to know workshop here. It's a flat fee of $550, and it's limited only by the amount of people you can hold.
That's what I'd like to do. I
Would-
think we did that last time, and we had a ton of people.
Be cheaper, more cost efficient to have it here and have more
Last time we-
employees.
The last time we attended Plastow's.
Oh, yeah, right,
Yep.
right. Yeah, but still, there were a lot of us, right?
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
it would be nice.
Yeah,
Plastow hosted
right.
it last time, we hosted this time.
And
We could reach out to the school board, see if they want to send people.
That would be an excellent idea.
Yep.
The school budget committee.
They might want to do it at their place.
We'll let them
and
pay for it
possibly
then.
reach out to Plastow or Kingston or
Yeah,
Southampton.
Southampton.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and see
I
if they
think
want to come
The more
join
the
us as well.
merrier.
and
The-
just so you know, Plasto did ask all the towns to pay at least $10 a head, so it would help cover the cost. We could do that as well.
That's very reasonable. So the
Okay.
trick is finding the right night.
Summer's coming.
It's almost like we want to wait for the summer to be over,
Do in the fall.
so everybody's, gets enough of a heads up, and also vacations are over and stuff.
Yeah, but when you go into the fall, you go into budgeting season.
And fairs and, yeah, it's not a good time anytime, but I would think before summer comes would be better.
But we're basically talking
Couple weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, like June or something like that, but if you wait till the fall, now you're into budgets and, you know, employees evaluations and all of that.
Mid-June would be probably a good idea.
Yeah, and that's 6 weeks from now.
Yeah, I mean, so the only thing is, we'd want to do it, Jack, what are you guys, the first Monday? Or you're a Tuesday or a Monday? Second Monday. So, you know, Gail would probably want to go.
But before, you gotta find out when they're available.
Right, exactly, well, that's what I'm saying, is they're gonna weigh in a lot, but we have to stay away from Tuesdays, because it's every
Tuesdays, Wednesdays,
Tuesday.
and Thursdays. So Monday is your best date.
As long as it's not the ZBA Monday.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
recreation.
So it'd be the 4th, the 18th, or the 25th of June.
When's the, how long, do you know how long? 2 hours, is it?
No, well, the workshop is 9 to 4. It's a full-day
All day,
workshop.
Bubba.
Yeah, but we went to one
We
in
did the
Plastow.
mini
Oh,
one.
we
Right. It
were
was
a
like-
2-hour one in
Right.
Plastow.
Yeah, 2
hours.
hours.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the one we'd probably want to do. Because, yeah, you can talk about 91A for a week.
Easily,
if you
yeah.
wanted to, but they have a mini one that addresses, basically what the minutes are and all that stuff. So we should probably,
Decide on a day of the week?
probably a Monday, as long as it's not
The second one.
the second Monday.
Right, so it'd be the 4th, the 18th, or the 25th.
Or you could maybe use one of your Tuesdays and not have a meeting that night, because things tend to slow down a little bit. in the
I'd vote
summer.
for that.
Yeah, because we only go to one meeting
Yeah,
anyway,
the 5th or the
right?
19th.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what the board, with 5 members, the board just as soon
It would
have the
open to
meeting.
2 more nights, is what it would do.
But, yeah, if you can just get some dates when they're going to be available and send them out to the board, and we can kind of weigh in, and you can also get a pulse of what planning board and everybody else thinks about the date, and then we'll lock it in. And then when it comes to the school board and the other towns, it's a case of when we decide when we want it, then we'll open it up to them. We won't,
Right.
Right.
too many cooks if they weigh in
Well,
on.
I know that the school budget committee has wanted to attend, a majority of their members have wanted to attend one.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're limited to 49 people
Yeah.
in this
Oh.
building.
First one to sign up, and the first one's in.
Unless you have a fire watch.
I don't think we're going to hit 49 people.
Oh, Plastow was pretty busy.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I don't think there was 50 there, though. I don't know.
They just filled the room well.
Also do a webinar, but I don't think that's a good idea.
No.
After all the trouble we just had,
Right.
You want the question answer portion?
yeah.
We could always rent the theater at the high school.
No.
That holds
No.
750, I think.
No,
Cross that bridge.
you won't get
Well,
that
10
many
bucks a
people.
person.
You won't get that many people.
Yeah, I think we'll be good here.
So you're charging, but I mean, if you like the planning board, the board of appeals, any town,
Other towns.
Other
other
towns.
towns is who you're gonna charge.
Well, I'm sure it's not going to be $500 for a 2-hour course.
It's 550 flat rate fee.
You said for the 9 to 4 course.
No, well, that's
No.
what they're saying, flat rate.
I think Diane's right, based on what I remember when we looked into it years ago. I
Yes,
think
that-
it's a
that's for
flat,
the 2-hour class.
yeah,
An all-day class would be a lot more than
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I
550.
But I think that's reasonable out of our, I mean, if we train 50 people, that's, that's $10.
Well, if you think about it, $90 per person,
gonna-
you'd make your
yeah.
money with 6 people.
Exactly.
There's 5 members of the board plus 2 other, relevant parties. That's 7, so we'd already be
Right.
paying for it.
Right.
Okay. Let's move to H, to Selectmen's Bylaws Review.
About the stormwater.
I'm sorry, I skipped G, MS4 Stormwater Report.
Yes, we have the NPDES small MS4 general permit annual report that has to be signed, preferably by the chair. This only has 1 signature space. This is just the update on our MS4 permit application.
I had an email from Mike McNally, the new form is out in July, so we'll have to do this again. But right now, the requirement is May 1st. So we were missing some information from Conservation Commission. So Mike said probably on the July one, we can get that information.
And we will also be starting soon on the Rockingham Planning Board's leading us through the actual full application in accordance with the new federal statutes. That we will be starting with the planning board on the 28th of June. So I move to have the chair sign the MS4 update.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we'll go to H, Selectmen's Bylaws, a review.
Now, this was a major overhaul from the original version that was 7 years old. There was some redundancy removed, some rhetoric removed.
A lot of editorial removed.
So it was cleaned up. It shrunk from 6 pages to 3 pages. And it was sent out for review, and then sent out again so that all changes could be seen by all selectmen.
So, what I read, and I read the wrong one, then I read the right one, and then I read the right one again. It looks fine, what I read. My input is really process-related. And sort of the first one is, the current one isn't on the website, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that shouldn't be the case with any of these things. They should be accessible to the residents if they're the published ones. 2 is, the way you sent it last night with the markups, that's the way we should always do it.
I had intended to do so.
As long as we do that going forward, that'll be much easier for the reviewer. The thing we should note, though, is it won't appear that way on your phone. So you have to make sure, like I did, you gotta leave yourself time to boot up the computer and look at the markup, because on the phone, the way the iPhone works, it doesn't show the markup.
That's
I think
because it
the-
has a very stripped-down version of the
Right.
Microsoft Word.
But I think if we do that, everybody will be happy. And the only other thing, again, general process, I think we should add on all of these, is at the top, you add a section that's called revision summary. And for anyone who's reading a new one, in a summary, we're talking 2 sentences, 2 lines, whatever. Basically a summary of what revisions you have done, so that you have a better idea of how deep do I have to go into this review, right? So it might be minor revisions, dates, names, or something like that, right? New Board of Selectmen. You might put that one day. Another time you might, like you said, those 2 lines would basically say, you know, you took out some of the tenses, or I know exactly what you took out and all
Similar
that.
to what we do with
Yeah.
the personnel policy. However, quite honestly, Lisa and I spent many hours working on this, and I would be so bold as to say, this is basically a new document.
Yeah,
Considering what we had and what we have condensed it to, this is the essence of what the bylaw should be.
yeah, I mean, and I would just say revision summary would be what you just said.
Well, no,
You know.
what we could do would be to do that kind of a page, starting with any changes that are made to this in the future.
Yeah.
Essentially a change log.
Yeah, that's fine. But going forward with all of these things, I think a revision summary would be very helpful to a reviewer. And also, as part of that revision summary, you could also put who the other stakeholders were that were involved in the review and the revisions.
Yep.
For instance, Selectmen bylaws is an easy one. It's probably 5 people, right? And our names are already on it at the bottom, so you wouldn't need something for that. However, if you were doing something else that overlapped into the fire or the police or overlapped into planning board, whatever it is, then it should say, this was also reviewed by department head X, whatever, just so reviewers like myself know that it wasn't just done by two people, that there was stakeholder input as part of it. So,
However, you wouldn't put that on review. I mean, you're now ending up with documentation for review that exceeds the length of the actual policy.
I don't agree with that. You're just writing names. You're saying, here's the revision summary, 2 lines, and then you say, review team, Joe Smith, Mike Jones, Jane Smith, done. Well, actually, you should have the titles for Mike Jones, Jane Smith and stuff, right? Because that'll be, a few years from now, the titles will be of more value than the names will be. Really, what it comes down to is, we need to make sure that we're having weigh-ins by all the stakeholders. So people who are really going to be run by the policies, we have to ensure that they've had a chance to at least read the document and give a yay or nay, is what I think.
Not a yay or a nay, but give input.
Input, better word.
Well, see,
input.
that's what I was
Yep.
afraid you were going
Yep.
towards is,
Yeah, we're the
I'm
yay or
sorry,
nay.
but the
Yeah.
fire, if we look and
Yeah.
draft something for the fire department, they give us input and say, yes, this works, no, this doesn't work, just like with the
Yeah.
transfer station.
Yeah.
But they don't have the right to.
Yeah, absolutely, input's a better word.
Okay.
But that's all just process-related stuff. As far as the bylaws go, I think the update looks fine.
In that case, I will make a motion to adopt the bylaws as presented.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, we don't have the 2018 salary matrix, so we're going to, instead, we're going to,
I didn't get that done, I'm
right,
sorry.
so we're going to discuss the lease agreement for 8 Merrimack Road.
The lease agreement for 8 Merrimack Road.
Oh, sorry. The board already reviewed that previously. Dennis Quintel came in today and signed it, so now the board can sign for the new year.
Okay.
So that's all that is.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we enter a lease agreement to rent out the upper office space in the present police station to Civil Construction Management, Inc., with Dennis Quintel as president, for the same amount as last year, which is a total of $10,200 per year in 12 equal installments of $850.
Can I make a friendly amendment
Sure.
to renew the lease to Dennis Quintel, whatever, instead of rent out? He's,
Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah, renew the lease works.
thank you. I'll second that motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Any announcements? Anything from rec? Conservation?
Thought we could announce that the vouchers went out and that they're hot pink, so people will know not to throw them away.
I think you just did
Yeah,
that.
you just did that.
I got mine yesterday.
Yep, I did too, and we will get some blank ones tomorrow, so Diane will put it on the website so people will know what it is, and
And people should be aware that the one they just got is against the old policy, right?
yes.
So the one that just passed on the warrant from this March, you won't start getting those until 2019. So we'll have, I think we said we're going to try to get pretty close to the first of the year with
Yeah, we'll
those,
do
right?
it toward the end of the year and
Yeah.
get them ready to be printed to go out January 2nd.
Right.
That's why if you read yours that you have at home right now, it says May 1st to December,
Right.
whatever. So that's why it's,
Yes.
that's why it's
and-
only half the year.
And the policy committee is tasked with drafting up something that'll clarify
Yes.
who qualifies and, you know, the process for it.
Right.
Okay. Now we'll jump down to the Board of Appeals, 3-year term.
So I'd just like to note here, and we bring this up every time, but I think I'm saying this correctly. The membership of the Board of Appeals is appointed by the town moderator. So we don't appoint anybody to the Board of Appeals. We just kind of, this is more of an FYI, I think, to this board. We don't vote to accept any of these appointments. It's totally the town moderator as per the,
As per the statute.
the
That's
stat.
why I think.
It's an
that-
RSA.
We've,
That's why I think the appointments need to be signed by the moderator, not by the Board of Selectmen.
Exactly.
but we vote to approve and confirm this appointment.
Yeah, I don't agree with
I
that.
think so.
It's what it says right here.
So I mean, I would move just to accept this for filing,
Second.
And to sign the appointment.
not in my motion.
Discussion?
Okay.
I second.
Jim already did.
So just a point of reference, if the board doesn't like the way it is, we could correct it and give it back to the moderator?
I think that's what we're saying, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Because the moderator appoints them.
Yeah,
board.
well, years ago, we had boards of selectmen that wanted input in it, and so that's why it reflected the board's recommendation. But if the RSA doesn't state that you need to have that,
Okay, Jack?
Yeah, just as I remember, I was appointed 2 years ago, I think I might, it expires in 2019, but we always brought the letter to the town hall to be sworn in, and I believe that was signed by the selectmen.
Yeah.
I think, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure the letter came from
I
the
think it's a
selectmen.
standard appointment form for
Yeah.
all appointments.
But it's, your appointments are unusual in any town in that they're done by the moderator.
Yeah.
And that, like Jim just confirmed, it's in the RSA as such, so I think we're just using a standard form that we
Yeah,
should.
whatever, I don't remember if it was signed by the selectmen or not, but that's what we took to the town hall to prove that we were, appointed.
But every year when these come up, we kind of debate this a little bit, and I just want to correct it. That's why I'm making the
Yeah.
motion.
And it's just like when the planning board appoints an alternate,
Yeah.
it doesn't get signed, it
Doesn't
gets
get-
signed
yeah.
by the planning board, not by the Board of Selectmen.
They let us know, but,
Right, we let you
then
know who the new
they
person
get
is.
sworn in with the town clerk.
yeah, and it's the town clerk for everybody swears, everybody.
However, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we appoint Catherine Druin.
We
think
we
sorry.
need to do a poll. All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And I just realized that this one needs to be corrected.
Is that the one with the,
Yeah, we
we
said
talked
Yeah,
about
that
that.
yeah, we discussed that, that's it.
earlier this evening.
okay, so other business, sign manifest, requisitions, abatements, tax credits, correspondence, and appointments.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we sign the vendor manifest dated 5/1/2018 in the amount of $454,076.64, of which $360,000 is the May school payment.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye. I move to sign the new fire rescue manifest dated May 1st, 2018, in the amount of $57,928.14.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
All right, I move to sign payroll manifest in the amount of $58,176.20 for the pay period April 15th, 2018 to April 28th, 2018, with a pay date of May 4th, 2018.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm also going to move to sign requisition 2563 in the amount of $996.93 for the forestry department for hoses and nozzles.
Second.
That's also coming out of the forestry budget, right?
Yep, I
Okay.
believe so.
Discussion? Any more? All set?
Got one more. Make a motion to
No,
sign.
hold on, hold
No,
on.
no, we're
All in
gonna-
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry.
Now you're good.
Yeah, I thought I heard him say one more. Motion to sign requisition 2564 in the amount of $1,769.72 for the forestry department for protective clothing.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any other business?
Yes.
This is Lisa.
Sorry, there's just one other business that we need to talk about. I spoke to Mike Rivera about the tree that fell on the Marshall House on the barn, and he got an estimate of $250 to have the tree taken off, and if we want to have the wood removed, it's gonna cost an extra $750. So you're looking at $1,000 to have the tree taken down and removed, or $250 just to have it taken off the barn. Right now, it's on the barn roof.
So when it's taken down, I take it it's not cut up?
You just take it off the building, right?
Just lift it
Yes.
off and leave it on the ground.
Right.
Cherry.
Jim will do
I
it.
was just gonna say, somebody might
My
want.
name, please.
I
Sign
think they told me it was
above
a
my name.
cherry tree.
Good burning wood.
I
So-
signed twice.
So we got two numbers, 250 or $1,000?
Correct.
So if they take it down, where does it lie as far as the view-wise?
It's in the back, so,
It's really non-noticeable.
no,
Well, is it in the way of them mowing down there,
no,
though?
they can't mow back there.
Okay.
Oh, so just take it down and leave it.
And if someone comes around and takes the wood, it's not
Yeah,
a problem.
I would move to pay the $250 to have it taken off the barn and set on the
Second.
ground.
Discussion? Now, if it's taken off the barn, is it just gonna stay there and rot, and we're gonna have to get rid of it later when it's rotted, or would it-
I guess it'll just sit there and rot.
I would look at it this way, let's take it off the barn. The Historical Society might find a taker that they want
I might know somebody.
to, we might know somebody. Historical Society can probably deal with that and come back to us if they need us to.
as long as our insurance covers somebody cutting up a tree on the
Well, that's
town
why I
property?
say they're an official nonprofit, so
But it's not their property, it's ours.
Right.
So I don't know
get
what the,
confused with that. It's-
yeah, I don't know what the liability would be if somebody goes on there and cuts it and
It's
gets
theirs, but we
hurt.
pay for it, pretty
No, we're
pretty
paying
much.
somebody to cut it.
Yeah.
Well, take it off.
Well, we're paying, if you want to pay to have it removed, it's going to be $700.
No, but there's so much wood around this town that people are just cutting and taking it, and they're doing it now. All the trees that
Right.
units are left, or the tree companies left.
Okay,
I'm
we're
gonna
we're still
stick
just
with
talking
my-
about the Marshall House here.
I'm sticking with my motion as,
All right, did we get a second for that?
Yeah, Jim seconded it.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I
Anything?
move to adjourn.
Yeah, that's it, right?
Okay,
Second?
all in favor to adjourn the meeting at 8:24 PM?
Aye.
aye.
These we are not signing.
All right.